So every applicant is required to use an equity lens to center their core values and commitments. And the equity lens is part of what you can see here as the equity cycle. If you look in the document in Appendix D on page 111, then you'll see a little bit more about the equity cycle, and it also goes into a lot more detail around the different steps of the equity cycle, which starts out with an equity stance. And the equity stance helps those who are looking at different areas to have their core value in mind and upfront from the beginning. So the stance tells us what are those core values. And then from there, the equity lens becomes the tool to use to make sure that those values are being met and those commitments and questions are being used when it comes to the planning within the guidance and the implementation process. So as the applicants are being walked through, they will use that equity lens in conjunction with targeted universalism, as Saskia just talked about, to recognize that there are different identified focal student groups, and they may all have differing needs. So it's important for the districts to be able to look at what those needs are and to identify them, and then to be able to set those specific goals and targets in order to support and help best utilize the cycle and to meet the needs of their students. The Oregon Equity Lens is a great place to begin, but it's not the perfect answer for everyone. We know that there's no city or town or region in Oregon that's exactly the same, and that in fact we have a lot of variety among large districts to small districts, rural districts, urban districts. We have a great deal of diversity throughout Oregon. And so the Oregon Education Equity Lens is a great place to start, but it's not the know-all and be-all. And in fact, districts are encouraged to start there, but then expand on it so that it meets their unique needs and helps to meet the needs of their culture or the community that they have. So the next slide gives us some examples of questions that come from the Oregon Equity Lens. And these are questions that districts have embraced and use a great deal. You'll notice the page numbers over on the right side, and those are just really to help illustrate how equity really is infused throughout the integrated guidance document, so that you can see, even though none of these are necessarily the page that's about the equity lens, there still are places that are talking about or referring to each of these questions. And these are just a few of the many, many places where that would be. So just like the Student Success Act, then the equity lens leads with race and ethnicity, but then it also provides these questions that can be used for each of the focal student groups. And that's a great example of, and a great way to think about targeted universalism, like we just learned about from Saskia, on how districts can work within that manner. If you look at these questions, you'll see that they give the districts a way to target and help them as a tool to think about the decisions that they're making. What would be the impact of those decisions? Are there some other pieces or things that they maybe should have considered that they didn't? Are they reaching out and asking the right people the right questions?